Hey everyone, before we get to the video, there's one correction I want to make. With regards to the oil capacity, the service manual calls for 2.38 quarts. I incorrectly made the conversion to 1.9 liter. The correct conversion is 2.25 liters. I will make the change in the video with visual cues as well. Thanks. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing an oil change on my 2000 Honda Shadow VLX. This is a relatively simple procedure and only requires a couple of common hand tools. The first tool we're going to be using is a 17mm wrench to undo and tighten back the oil drain plug bolt. Second, to help us with the removal of the oil filter, we're going to be using a set of channel locks. In terms of the actual gear that you're going to need from the dealership is a replacement oil filter and a replacement crush washer. One more thing for the oil. We're going to be using 1.9 liters of Motul 5100 to 10W40. Now, the procedure itself can be broken down into 3 steps. The first step is going to be to remove the old oil out of the motorcycle. The second step is going to be to replace the oil filter. And the third step is going to be to put the fresh oil in. With that, let's get started. Alright, so moving towards the bike, we have it lifted up a bit off the ground just on a common scissor stand. This is not absolutely required, but it does help in getting access to the drain plug as well as fitting the oil catch pan underneath. What I found is that the bike without being lifted up off the ground is a little bit low and I had a hard time putting an oil catch pan underneath. Now, to locate the drain plug bolt, we're going to go on the left side of the bike, and it is located in a very, very difficult spot to get to. Now, if you follow the engine down, you will notice the radiator hose on the left side of the bike all the way at the bottom. If you look slightly behind that, you will notice that this is the drain plug bolt right here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to use the 17mm wrench to crack that loose, and then we're going to put in our oil catch pan right below that. I'll just use 17mm wrench, get it on the drain plug bolt, and crack it loose. Once you do crack it loose, you should be able to undo the rest of the bolt by hand. However, don't fully undo the bolt just yet. Next, we're going to set up our oil catch pan. To do that, I have a flat one that I'm just going to slide directly underneath. Now, this is going to be a bit of a difficult reach to get to. From there, you can generally undo the bolt the rest of the way by hand. If it's a little bit too tight, just slightly move the oil pan slightly out of the way and loosen it up more with the wrench. A little bit, slide the oil catch pan back underneath and continue undoing the drain plug bolt. I'm just going to take my gloves off here because it makes it a little bit easier to grab the bolt with my hands. It can take a little bit of time, but just keep twisting and eventually the bolt will come out and the oil will drain. Now we're just going to leave this for a few minutes to let all the oil drain out of the engine. With that, while the oil is draining out of your engine, you can now take this time to dry up and clean up the oil drain plug. When it comes off, you'll notice that there should be the old crush washer on the oil drain plug bolt. If you do not see this here, double check the mating surface between the oil drain plug and the engine case covers. There should always be a crush washer on either the bolt or there. If you do not see it on the bolt, make sure that you remove it from the engine case covers. Make sure that it's not there, and it could be catastrophic and even dangerous to double up a new crush washer with an old one. These things are not actually reusable, so once you replace it, throw the old one away. Put on the new crush washer, take it, slide it on, and clean up the oil drain plug. Once the oil drains out of your engine, you should be good to replace the bolt back in the exact same hole. So once all the old oil is drained out of the bike, we can move the oil catch can out from underneath for the time being. And next we're going to use a rag or paper towel to just clean up the mating surface between the oil drain bolt and the case covers. Next, we're gonna take our bolt with the new crush washer and we're gonna seat it back in and just start tightening it up by hand. Make sure you do not cross thread this bolt. So just keep going only with your hand until you feel it a little bit snug. Lastly, we're going to take our 17mm wrench and just snug it up the rest of the way. Now, do take care not to over tighten this. This is a simple drain plug bolt, doesn't need to be on tightened with the hand of God. So just tighten it up, be good and snug, and leave it at that. We will double check this once we run the bike and once the oil change procedure is fully done to make sure that there's not going to be any leaks. Yeah. With the drain plug replaced and all the oil out of the bike, next thing we're going to move on to is step 2, which is removing the old oil filter. So once again, we're going to slide our oil catch pan underneath, and the oil filter in this bike is located near the kickstand once it's in the up position. And if you look underneath, sorry about that, you will see that the oil filter is just sitting right there. Now, you can try to undo this by hand, but if you find that it's too tight, in this case, this is where we're going to get our set of channel locks. Now, moving on with this, we're going to undo the oil filter. It looks like I'm going to need a set of channel locks here. I'm going to grab those and loosen it up. And just adjust the channel locks to the size of your oil filter. Grab hold and twist it off. Once the oil filter is cracked loose, we can generally undo it by hand the rest of the way. And from here, you can just let the oil drain out. And we'll give it a few minutes to drain the remainder of the oil that was in the system that worked its way through the filter. Right. Now, once all the old oil is drained, at that point, we're going to follow the same procedure in which we're going to clean up the mating surface with a rag. And lastly, we're going to replace the oil filter. Now, best idea for this is to just grab a dab of either new oil or some of the old oil that you drained and just lube up the O-ring that's on the new oil filter, and then replace it back in to the bike. Now, just like with the drain plug bolt. This does not need to be put on really tight. Put it on by hand and snug it up until you can no longer turn it. And we will also double check this once we get the new oil in the bike. And now, with the old oil removed out of the bike, we're going to move on to the final step, which is to refill the bike with new oil. The oil fill cap itself is located on the right side of the bike, just a bit below the top exhaust pipe. We'll go ahead and open that up, and you'll see that this also acts as an oil dipstick. So, you'll notice the hole. What we're going to do is we're going to put a funnel there, and we're going to fill it up with the 1.9 liters of 10W40. Now, the funnel isn't absolutely required. If you have one, it makes it a lot easier. We're just going to place oil fill funnel in the hole and slowly work our way up to filling the oil. Take this nice and slow, being careful not to overfill the funnel, and just let the oil work its way into the system. Lastly, once all the oil is put into the bike, we're going to remove the funnel and we're going to replace the dipstick. And then lastly, what we're going to do is we're going to run the bike and check for any leaks. Finally, once you've run the bike for a few minutes and confirm that there's no oil leaking out of the oil filter or the drain plug bolt, this finishes up the procedure, and you can now lower your bike back down and take it for a ride. Thanks for watching my video. Hope you enjoyed this tip, and hopefully it helps you out. See you in the next one.